Hi everyone, I'm Nuno Bento. I'm a Foley artist from Lisbon, Portugal. I've been working as a Foley artist since 2014. Started with started working in a post-production house here in Lisbon. Before that, I was a music production student, and I took a little small course in sound design. That's uh, that's pretty much my career so far. I've been freelancing, not exactly freelancing. I quit the company I was in 2019. Ever since I've been working with a specific client that ended up opening a company here in Portugal. And I mostly do work for him in films and TV and some other projects outside of the film scope, collaborating with a few artists, making music or sound design for some exhibitions, some smaller art projects, let's say. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing, and for how long I've been doing it. Oh, what made me get into the Foley? My entry point into the industry was it's one of those stories that it's kind of hard to replicate, and it's very hard for me to give guidance to anyone because I finished music school around I think I finished music school 2011, and I wanted to go to college, but I couldn't afford it. So I started working right away and dedicated myself full time. But I was working in a dubbing studio for the Disney Channel, Portuguese Disney Channel. So I was there for about 2 years, and I got this opportunity through an old professor. And this professor is a sound editor here in Lisbon, and he asked me if I would be available to meet him and help him out with a project. I straight up just lied and said that I knew Pro Tools very well and I was very proficient at it. And I went to help him out. Fortunately, everything went well, and I saw that the studio at the time they were building a Foley stage, which, as far as I know, is it's still the only Foley stage in the country. And this teacher of mine, he just introduced me to the owners, and usual met talk. They asked me if I'd be interested in seeing a couple of Foley artists working in the studio when it's finished. Of course, I said yes. They asked again if I was good with Pro Tools, and I lied and said yes. And that's how it started. I just went there for a few months while I was working in the dubbing place. By then, I was still working freelance and could manage my schedule well enough. And pretty soon, they just asked me if I wanted to take an internship. Then the internship became the full time job, in which yeah, I stayed there for 4.5 years. That's uh, that's how I got into it. So what made me want to get into it was the opportunity opening up for something that's it's uh, it's so hard to get an opportunity like this, that even though I didn't really consider becoming a Foley artist, I know for sure that I didn't want to work in music. I did want to work with sound, and I love being able to very literally put my hands on things. So so I just took the opportunity, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I just stay there. And yeah, that was a huge, huge, huge opportunity. I stay there as a Foley artist, as a sound designer, sound editor, mixer. I was a Swiss Army knife for the whole place. What was it like to work for Bruno Leix movie? It was one of the first projects that I did after I left. I wonder if this person asking this is Portuguese. I'm guessing it must be, right. Bortish head. Yeah. um I mean, there's nothing particularly interesting. At least I don't really remember anything out of the ordinary when working with that film, since it was a lot of still shots of, the puppets, and not puppets, they were cut out animations. But yeah, there wasn't anything too special about it, especially because I don't really like the type of comedy. So if I'm honest about that one aspect, it just isn't for me. But it was fun. It was really hard to work outside of a Foley stage, trying to improvise around music studios, how to build and have proper pits, and negotiating if I could then leave my props in the studio. And I have good memories of the film because of it, but it didn't come out perfect. I wish I had done a better job, if I'm completely honest. On a new Foley project, what's my first approach? It's a very good question, and I wonder how much it varies from Foley artist to Foley artist. When I get a project, me in particular, I'm used to having full control over the Foley process, and that means I'm used to preparing the sessions, as in editing, as in spotting, and I can tell you a bit about the full. Yeah, I should, about the spotting process. Since I work in Pro Tools, we have this ability to create something called clip groups, which is basically just embedded in the session data. So I can make clip groups uh, and name them precisely to the frame. So I can write something like PR, that stands for prop, hands on leg. And I know that my mixer can just tell me, all right, next cue is this hand on leg. And he can just search PRs and he can see all the props and give me all the hands in one go. This is the most efficient way to record. If you don't have a lot of time, I think it's essential. So I start by spotting. Now I have someone else spotting for me, which I'm still not super into, because I really like to have this. Even though I don't like spotting, it's very important, and it helps me memorize the whole film from start to finish. So I spot, and we have some categories. We have FSI for footsteps interior, FSX for exteriors, and then we organize everything that comes after uh, with the surfaces that we have available in the studio, and we try to make it also as simple as possible. Like if it's like concrete, the character is walking on a stone, on a tile, on concrete. We always put the con first, and then the tiles, and then the dirt, so we don't have to move around too much, and I can just do all those cues without moving around too much. And prop wise, we have it separated by materials. So we have plastics, papers, metals, uh, glasses, which includes cutlery, and we organize the props like follow the same rule. So it's PR, paper, money, PR, glass, cutlery, PR, metal chain, whatever the fundamental sound, whatever the fundamental sound is, it's what we cue as accurately as possible, because it also allows us to create a little sound library of all the things that we've recorded, just in case we have a project where we can't do Foley, we can still search for our own stuff and easily access it and edit it in, um, just to try and make things come more alive. So that's my first approach, to always review and spot as thoroughly as possible, because this also allows us to make an estimate of around of how many days we need. Usually we can record something from 300 to 400 cues a day, and that allows me to say, okay, I'm going to need 3 or 4 days to do this one thing. And we count the cues through exporting the clip groups as text. And when we have the text file that comes out of Pro Tools, we use an ADR software created by Pete Gates, and we feed the text information into this little super cool, super neat program called Pro Tools PTG Sessions. And and we get a total number of cues. That's how I figure out how many days I need per project. Advice I would give for people wanting to get into Foley or sound design in general: the best and only advice, I think, is to just keep making stuff. Never stop making stuff. If you really like it, I think, at least for me, the job would be the job would be an hobby anyway. So I cannot imagine someone really wanting to get into it without constantly exploring ideas and tools and creating things and see how they can make things sound different, just to explore the full range of possibilities and the weirdest ideas, and just try and keep making stuff. Honestly, that's the number one thing, because once you get used to the tools, then you don't think about the tools so much, and you can just create. And that's really, I think that's really important for everyone working either in Foley or sound design. And even if you're working in sound design, honestly, Foley is like the best school around for learning how to design stuff, because it really compels you to deconstruct and analyze the fundamental sounds and layers that a single object does. I remember watching some other Foley artists talk about how it's all about playing with resonance, and it really is. Like, if you have a very crystal, beautiful uh, glass, and you put it on wood, you have two different, very characteristic resonances happening at the same time, and they're both really important. Same as if you put it on a concrete or a tile or a marble. Tile probably is not going to make that much of a sound. Neither is going to concrete is not really going to sound all that special either. But it will always sound different. It's the combination of these two things always sounds different. And if you want to make things big, you can use that in your to your advantage. If you have a small space, you just really need to get like you take the strings out of your acoustic guitar and maybe just stuff a microphone in there and see how it sounds. If you're walking next to it, it's probably going to sound a lot bigger, a lot hollower, a lot, I don't know. I think there's a lot to experiment. And I really do wish every sound designer spent a lot of time just trying to make sounds with their hands. I think that at least for me, it helped me so much understand how to make things. It's really cool. So do I spot with a finished product and put your sound directly in, or with an initial draft, then build a sound bank? Well, I finish editing. So I also edit. I want to edit everything that I work on. That's why, to me, how do I start? It's a long question because I want to go through the whole process by myself too. I have more people helping me nowadays, thankfully. It also allows us to take a lot more jobs. But I always try to start editing with as close as of a cut as possible. But I mean, that's not always the reality. The thing is, if you have all these clip groups and it's still not the final cut, and you need to conform your session, moving around with clip groups, it's absolutely fine. You just need to go back, review where the cuts are, and clean it up a bit. It's not going to be an issue. It's a bigger issue when you record and then you conform and you get all sorts of problems with rhythm and trying to glue things together that just don't work the same way as they used to. So usually if you have to conform after recording, there's either some editing or some going back to the studio to fix things up. So since since all the cues are already named, all the mixer needs to do is to double click, copy the name, put the name on the session, and the files are going to be recorded with the precise name that the cue had. So even before we start editing, the library, the sound bank is already done and it's already named. We can just move it to a folder and tag it, and we can use it whatever, Soundly or SoundMiner, whatever it is that you use, it's ready to go. And since the mixer is already doing some compression, some EQ, and all of that, you really don't need to worry too much about uh, editing what you've recorded. It would have been a waste of time. Yeah, would I show my Foley sound designer skills in a portfolio? So working in games is a big dream of mine. It's something that I've been working for, and I would love to have the. I would love to get the opportunity to work in games, but it does require a portfolio that I still don't have. So yeah, I would love. I think, of course, you should showcase whatever it is that you're after. I mean, if you're looking for a Foley gig or a sound design gig and they ask you for a portfolio, I mean, yeah, you want to show off your best work, and for sure, I would make a showcase. But how I would do it is, it still kind of troubles me, and it's one of the reasons that I haven't done it yet, because I'm afraid of showing some stuff that I don't really have the right to show, and I'm really afraid it, gets out there, because especially certain films. Uh, yeah, I've been trying to deal with this for a little while, because I would like to I would like to get a couple of clips from games or films that I liked and haven't worked in, and basically redo, just just grab a couple of things that you really like and make them. I think that's all there is to it, really. The weirdest or most unique thing you've used to make a sound. Oh man, the weirdest. I've built some weird things to make sounds out of. I think most unique. I don't know. I'm working on a show that has a few robots and using bike pumps, empty buckets, a microwave, and gaffing it all together in order to be able to perform robot movement. It's really fun and also very weird. I wouldn't call it unique though. I really like that question, but I don't know how to answer it. I think in every project there's something that comes up that you have to quickly think of some weird thing that makes it work. Oh, I wish I could just uh, pause time for a little bit and have like an hour to think about this. Uh, I had a lot of fun on a film called The Purge, in that we had to bring guns into the studio, and in Portugal, it's incredibly hard to get hands on guns. And performing with real guns and having police officers around me was pretty fun and weird and strange. But at the end of the day, it's still just guns. One classic that, I mean, I think every Foley artist does this. Like, we always use VHS tapes to make like leaves, dry leaves, or sometimes grass with a few blankets on top. There's a lot you can do with VHS tapes, but I think my favorite one is how you can use it to resonate with anything. So you can just grab a small string of VHS tape and put it inside an oven, a microwave, a table, anything, and you can make a cool uh, creaking noise out of anything. It's really fun. It's kind of nerdy, but I really like it. How do you find clients as a starting freelancer? Oh, man. I was lucky enough to meet all these people on a personal basis because they came to work in the other studio and I talked to them. Like the client that I'm working with now, he was someone I met while I was in the studio. And after I left, he wanted to keep working with me, so I really didn't have to worry too much about it. It's really I just got really lucky. I think the easiest way nowadays to find clients is to just have your work out there. Make sure you have some stuff that you can that you're proud of and that you're using to learn with. And LinkedIn is a great asset. Keeping an eye on stuff like Mandy and uh, anything related to game audio jobs, game audio, not necessarily game audio, but audio jobs in general. I've seen a lot of gigs. Sometimes they don't pay all that well. Sometimes they pay just enough. Uh, I don't think they ever pay well, but I mean they're out there. You really have to be okay with the amount of time you're going to spend just scouring the internet, trying to make contacts, try to meet people, try to talk to people. And, I really think that's the best and only thing you can do as a freelancer. Is just to keep trying to meet and connect with people, and especially people that have a common ground with you, that like the things that you like, that understand the type of thing that you're working with or on, or the stuff that you like. Which is, I mean, like if you're not into ultra analog gear stuff, maybe maybe try to avoid those conversations like I do, because I really cannot stand it. I'm really not a big fan of that type of conversation about what's the best microphone or what's the best outboard gear. I really don't care. What would be the I'm sorry if I can't really answer that question, by the way. I wish I really could just give you a good solid list of things that you have to try, but really just 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 go, just talk to as much people as you can. I think eventually opportunities will just come up, and I promise you, when one opportunity comes, they will all rush in as a tsunami. Yeah, I think we'll if you have to be available to be lucky too, like there's no point in being lucky if you don't make the best of whatever luck has come your way. So if you just keep working on what you like and an opportunity comes, you'll be that much more of a professional to understand what you need and how to make things happen. I'm sure I'm sure you'll do it. We all kind of make our own luck. Just be out there. What would be the best way to practice Foley at home if you've never done it before? I've done sound design, but I'm really interested in doing Foley. The best way to practice Foley. I mean, you don't really need all that much. If you're gonna record at home, I would say buy Brushfree, the $50 denoiser, and you're pretty much set. And then you just need a microphone and start exploring. I would say find a good clip with something as simple as like as long as the shots as long of a shot as you can, like a character walking in the house, preparing dinner, sitting down, eating, something like that. Something that forces you to practice the timing of footsteps, forces you to think about the best way to get the sounds as clean as possible, and create some other things that are a bit harder, like when someone's cooking, and sitting down, which is used to give me a lot of trouble, but mostly footsteps I think are really hard in the beginning. You can also try, I would suggest something a bit more sci-fi-ish, maybe. Like I've been working on redesigning the this is just for myself, it's just for practice, but it's been fun trying to do the Foley at home for the it's like a CGI trailer for Good versus Evil, where they present I think it was the first time Ubisoft showed the CGI trailer. There's the kitchen, there's the interior of the spaceship, there's a big brain, there's explosions, spaceships. It's a lot of fun. And I think if you try to train at home, force yourself to see how little you can edit after you record. It's going to be super hard as you're going to be alone recording yourself, but just give yourself enough pre-roll to get comfortable to what you're about to do, and focus on the scene and try to be as in sync as possible. I think that's the main thing. Being in sync, try to edit as little as possible and try to find the best props for what you need without having to process them too much in post. I think that's the absolute best way to practice while at home. If you have the ability to go out and drink a coffee, just try to put your bag or backpack in front of your leg and try to mimic the rhythm of people walking while you're sitting down. Try to not bring attention to yourself, but it helped me a lot. For a sound effect, creating a sound effect for walking along a forest floor, snapping twigs and stuff. There's a couple of things that I like to use, especially if it's like dirt, sands, that type of really crackly, annoying type of sound. Have like thick towels or a good rug underneath the whatever you're going to use to make it a bit boomier. So you're not walking, so you're not putting your, actual branches or some twigs. Mostly I use VHS tapes because they sound really good with different sizes. Some used, some old, and some actual leaves. And if you're going to use anything like that, just make sure that you have something to put it on top of. That's not a hard surface, because it will give you a little bit more weight and it will be a lot less crackly and a lot less annoying to edit after. Sand always works really well, like not sand, salt, like very thick salt grains. You can put it in like a pillowcase on top of your rug, and you can have a really uh, crunchy but not too crunchy sound. Like it's going to work fine with a bit of more leaves on top, just to give it a little bit more like a new loose leaves sort of material. But yeah, for sure, I think these are things that are simple enough to do at home. Just fill a bag with salt, have a little bag with sand, and I would recommend sand is a lot easier to do with your hands and a lot easier to get sound out of if you use your hands. Salt is also great for snow. I know you didn't ask about sand or snow, but just saying. Uh, and yeah, I think really sometimes all you need to do is just go outside and grab a few things from wherever you find and use them. The best and worst. Oh, a shotgun mic inside the condom and then put it inside a water bottle or yogurt. I have a small microphone from what they're called, Lom. I hope I'm saying it right. It's a Ushi mic, really small, almost lavalier like omnidirectional microphone. I was working on a documentary about cave rescues in Thailand when the kids got stuck a few years ago, and we didn't have a lot of time for Foley, and there's a lot of that film that's underwater. So what I did think about putting it inside a condom, but I was still scared. I got like a water bottle with a thicker plastic and just taped the microphone from the outside as close as possible to the bottle. Wrapped it around in tape, and filled it less than halfway, and pretty much just did a huge high cut and some reverb, some echo, and I recorded all the underwater swimming at home. I know it's not as cool as going all out crazy and shoving a microphone inside the water, but I think it worked out pretty well. That was a weird prop to make, for sure. The best and worst thing about my job. Well, right now the worst thing has been finding someone to teach. I've been looking for someone to lend me a hand so I can have a little less workload. And I don't know why. It's been really hard finding someone to stick around to teach. Also, sometimes when you're working with a very, 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 very tight schedule, I think the worst part is when you get to the point where you just have to do it, especially footsteps. Walking for 8 hours a day for like 2 days straight is really, 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 it's really tiring, especially if you have to edit the next couple of days and all you want to do is lie down. But I think the best part, I mean, I joke about this all the time with my Foley mixer. We've been working together for the last 3 years, and he's the only person I work with. But we're always joking about it being like a very childish, very privileged, very, very loose job sometimes in terms of responsibilities, where you're in the studio and you're getting paid just to make the dumbest sounds. I mean, reality kind of hits you that that you're getting paid to be a child, and that's pretty cool. That's really cool. You guys can want to throw any more questions? Can I expand on anything that I said? Or if I didn't answer a question, probably. If you want to ask it again, or if I forgot. Yeah, it is. Especially when when you have the time to actually do it, you know? Like I said, it's really fun until you have to really like push yourself physically and mentally, because you have to be focused on the story, you have to be focused on the sync, you have to be focused on everything and the prop that you're making, and you have to perform it, because it really comes down to performance, how well you can perform with your prop. And sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's really, 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 really hard. But most days it's cool. Unconventional plugins like 32-bit plugins designed by only a person. Oh man, I have so many weird plugins. I'm honestly thinking of getting a Windows laptop just to process some sounds with. Uh, right now, I can think of a single one because I have hundreds. Are you thinking about anything in particular? What prompted you to ask about plugins? Convolver reverbs. Yeah, I use the kilohertz one, which is super, super, super fun. And Melda, Melda Productions, but by far kilohertz is it's just insanely fun. I do a lot of processing sometimes with the sounds, especially if you want to give a uh, like a proposition to whoever's editing the sound effects. The humanizer is really fun to have like movements, like you create perform a normal Russell movement, and then you can just go completely insane with the envelope follower. And reformer is also a lot of fun with your own Foley. Like if you screw up and you have if you screw up like a character is walking on so okay, that's a good tip. If you're working at home and you need to do a character that's walking on mud, you can, for example, record a couple of sounds with like wet toilet paper or wet towels, just to have this muddy, gross, continuous sound. And then you can use something like I think it's texture by Audio Damage. There's the expensive MV2 by Cargo Cult, and you have Reformer that pretty much does the same thing. And you can perform your own footsteps on your um, wood floor or whatever, and then just use the envelope of your performance to trigger the other sounds. It's like can just you have a dry and wet mix, but you can just pretty much recreate another type of ground with these tools. It's really great. Yeah, it's super cool for layering. If you don't have that many, or if you have certain ideas and you can use these tools, it's super fun. So these plugins, there's a texture. I think it's called just texture. I think the developers are Audio Damage, but I'm not super sure. I bought it on Platique, and I can write it. It's Envy by Cargo Cult. Envy is super super cool, but it's $400, I think, from Cargo Cult. You have texture. I'm just gonna say Audio Damage, though I'm not sure. And Reformer by Krotos. Transformizer. I'm gonna have to search for Transformizer. That looks really cool. What I like about Reformer is the XY pad. I don't know if Transformizer has the same ability. I had to do some effects design recently with some buffaloes, and having that XY pads to move around between different animals to add a layer to the buffaloes was really cool for vocal stuff, growls and things like that. Any kind of gunshots. Well, Foley usually just is more about human interactions with things that have like I would say like an emotional require some sort of emotional human response or interaction. Like you don't really need to do Foley for flicking a switch if it's really not that important for the story. Gunshots wise, I've never recorded gunshots because that's usually left for the effects team. What we do is the gun movement with just replicating whatever human movements they're making. But as a sound designer, when I have to do gunshots, uh, you just have to layer them as crazy as you can. The last gun I had to make was a flintlock. It's like a black powder buffalo hunting rifle, and I think I used like artillery shells, grenades. Uh, I used the clipper to distort, compress the sound. I'd say OTT compressor is like an absolute must-have. I think there's nothing that I love more than OTT. There's never too much OTT. So I think really the trick is just to layer, to think about the sound that you need, where the character is, what the acoustics are, and go from there. Because yeah, gunshots always sound silly. There's just a small clip on the microphone. But it's also cool to use those gunshots, especially when they're outside, to just take the tail out of. Okay, I have to check out Transformizer. I've been looking for a cool sampler that does like that can randomize pitch within slices. That's uh that's something that I'm looking for. Transformizer does look cool though. For a game audio job, what genre? If I'm honest, the I think the GDC talk for Bioshock was the thing that made me want to to work on games. I think the Foley artist was, I think she was called Emily Rose. I'm not sure. And I remember talking about how they did the footsteps for Big Daddies just with an oven or a microwave, just stomping on it with the microphone shoved inside. I would love to work on something like that, like an alternative. I mean, it's not the genre, but some sort of low tech sci fi with lots of metals and yeah. I don't know. I think I would just yeah. That would be that would be great, but I would just love to work on anything honestly from first person well, not sports games if I'm honest. But anything else would go. I think a third person action adventure game would be my absolute favorite to try and work with. You guys have any more questions? Can I answer anything else? I hope this has been useful at the very least, or fun. I hope. I hope so. I was kind of nervous at first, kind of stumbling around, but I got there. Of course, anytime. I absolutely love to talk about work. So if anyone wants to keep chatting or ask any questions or um, just talk, just send me a message. Let me know. I'm a real geek about work. It's all I do. So anyone's welcome to start a conversation.